What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Tonight, I had the honor of having an interview with Jeffrey Talanian, the author of Hyperborea, formerly Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. And I got to tell you, Jeffrey is probably the nicest guy in the gaming industry. I was extremely excited to do the interview. Unfortunately, Sathagwa was not, because he created all sorts of chaos with my technology during the interview. So what I'm uploading here is the 20 minutes that I could salvage after my computer crashed, my hard drive filled. I lost half of the information that I've stored for my channel, so on and so forth. But I hope you enjoy this 20 minutes of the interview with Jeffrey Talanian. And he has said that he'd be happy to try this again. And I hope that we get that done, because I think there's a lot of stuff that he was going to be telling tonight that you guys would be interested in hearing. So without further ado, here is part one of my interview with Jeffrey Talanian. What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards, and today I have probably the most exciting video, at least for me, in the history of the channel. We are with Jeffrey Talanian, my favorite living games designer and author, a master of the Appendix N, and the maker of many, many tabletop rules, dreams come true. Jeff, welcome to the channel. Thank you for coming on board. And just anything on your mind today that you want to start off with, bud?
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Geez, I feel like, as much as one could have said some years ago that tabletop role-playing games were going to sort of disappear in video games, we're going to just completely take over that sphere of entertainment. I'm happy to say that, we're still going strong, maybe even stronger than we were, 15, 20 years ago. And it's great to see so many people still enjoying this great hobby of creative collaboration,
I think that for me at least, and I just judging from interviews I've watched with you and things in the past, the best part of this hobby is the community and getting to know people in the community and how open they are and how willing they are to share of the lessons learned and tips that they've learned through the years. Has that been your experience, or?
Yeah, it's been my experience both as a player, a dungeon master, and then as a writer and in small publishing, because I think it works. I think it works business-wise, to use a game analogy, on the other side of the screen as well, because I think there are a lot of great small independent publishers out there that are doing a lot of really cool things. That there are a lot of print opportunities out there that were not there in the past, that allow the independent creator to try their hand at getting into this hobby. And I love communicating with them too, and talking about the business side of things, and working with artists and writers, and stuff like how to run a Kickstarter and things like that. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's really amazing how the power balance has shifted from the mega publishers to the indie guys. I think about you, I think about the folks over at Pinnacle Entertainment Group, Goodman Games. Now, gamers probably think of those places as huge companies, but really, when you look at their sales annually as a company goes, they're not that big, but they can put out products, and you put out products that are better quality than a lot of the physical products that come out of some of the big name publishers that we won't name here.
Right. No, I mean, I understand what you're saying. They're pumping out products, and in a lot of cases, quality control isn't their primary objective. And for smaller publishers, we will go with the high quality paper, the Smithsonian binding. We want these books to last, matte finish on the books, all the little, all the painstaking efforts in layout and working the illustrations with the text. We do that stuff in independent publishing that some of the larger publishers don't necessarily do, because it's not a concern of theirs, because it's bang it out and go on to the next thing.
They have to justify those costs to an accountant. Being a banker myself, I kind of understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, you guys put out passion projects. You put out, I can feel your blood, sweat, and tears when I'm reading the new Hyperborea books. Speaking of which, are you just finishing up a fulfillment on a Kickstarter on 3 adventures, right?
3 new adventures, and I have them here. I'll show them to you. 3 new adventures, and so we ran a Kickstarter earlier in the year, and began fulfillment in mid-October. We had a due date of October, so we got about half of the Kickstarter pledges out in October, and the other half early November. And I'm at the final end of it now. I should be done this week, shipping those out. So I have 3 new adventures that I'll share with you guys here. We have the Oblation Slab of the Hyperborea by Joe Macarone.
Great art on the cover there.
Oh, thank you. Then we have the Vanishing Isles of the Summer King by Jonathan Bingham.
Mm-hmm.
And The Thousand Eyes of Thaumagoria by Ben Ball. So these last 2 that I showed you, these 2 are hardcover books. They're Smithsonian binding, quality pages, quality paper stock. We did a 2-color format, which basically blue and black, and white, of course, and just rich with art and great quality adventure, incredible content. These adventures are all written by different gamers, not myself, any of them. But for the Hyperborea setting, basically, when it's someone else that's writing, I'm basically the content editor. In which I'm making sure that the content of each of these adventures sort of falls in place with our previous publications and sort of meets the same spirit and tone of what I was trying to create when I originally wrote Hyperborea.
Well, and if folks are fans of my channel, Ben Ball is the creator of the random encounters tables that I used in my solo adventure, and also the Sword and Sorcery Adventure Generator that's available on Hyperborea.tv.
It's a free resource.
So when I saw his name on one of the adventures, I was like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, he also wrote the adventure for us around 2015 called Beneath the Comet, which has been really popular.
I've got that. Actually, I have all of them except for the 3 newest ones, so I'll pick those up whenever funds allow. But okay, so I got a question for you. You use a language system which Captain Courageous refers to as High Gygaxian, and I definitely could share his thoughts there. But I'm just going by root words. Is Hepatomancer like a blood sorcerer then?
Yeah, so a Hepatomancer is so it was actually a type of practice that was done in ancient times.
Okay.
And it's basically it may have still been in practice, in recent centuries. But anyway, what it is the drawing out of entrails of an animal, and seeing how those entrails come out, and then divining some type of portents from that.
So almost like if you've watched the 80s Robin Hood movie, they kind of do some of that in that film.
Right. And you can say, how in certain Scandinavian belief systems, how they would etch runes on bones or twigs and cast them out and see where they would fall and it would have some kind of meaning. So it's kind of based on that. So in this in that adventure module, it's sort of a form of necromancy.
Okay.
And there's a hepatomancy spell that's in the adventure.
Okay, so if I may, I apologize, I don't have all of the subclass names memorized. I do like it. Is it a rune carver? Is that the
rune graver? Yeah,
rune graver. I knew it was one of the two. I knew I'd get the wrong one. So did they have any advantages in the oblation stone of the hepatomancer?
Well, I think that someone like a rune graver that uses a similar type of sorcery would have an understanding of some of the things that are going on in the adventure. Yeah, absolutely.
Might be able to pick up on some of the clues a little bit easier.
Okay. Yeah, as the adventure, without giving away too many spoilers, they would be a class that would have some advantages in this case. Sure.
That's a good segue. So, of all of the classes, there's 27 classes in the newest edition?
Yeah, right? 26.
Or 26, okay. I'm getting everything wrong, Jeff.
That's okay. You're right there.
So, out of the 26 classes, I know that they're all your children, and nobody can say which is their favorite child. But come on, just between the two of us, which is your favorite?
I really one of my favorites is the warlock class, but the variant of the warlock that casts necromancer spells. I think it's really cool to have like this powerful warrior type character that also dabbles in sorcery, but in that sorcery being necromancy. I think that's pretty wild.
So that was one of the characters in my solo playthrough but not necromancy. I did the pyromancy version, but I dig the warlock as well. But my favorite,
so that's called a death soldier.
Yes. My favorite is the barbarian that you did.
Nice.
Man, that barbarian just captures everything that I want in a barbarian. It's Conan from the pulps, not from the flicks. And,
right.
Chef's
kiss. I'm glad that you enjoy it. It's one of those classes that there have been a few people that have been disappointed in it because they expected something different, because they expect the barbarians to have berserk rage. But that is something that we reserved for the berserker class itself. And so the barbarian is a fearsome warrior in this game, but they have a boatload of different survival type skills and really neat sort of skills, like, drawing poison from a wound, wilderness survival skills, which would include climbing. They have that leap ability. So there's all kinds of cool, unique stuff that the barbarian does. Yeah.
I was seeing Conan from Tower of the Elephant God, definitely
scaling the tower.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I saw there. But
yeah, good stuff.
So, Jeff, what was your first experience in tabletop gaming?
My first experience in tabletop gaming was when I was in the fifth grade, and we were in school one day, and it was basically a blizzard outside, so we had indoor recess, and one of the kids said, "Hey, I have this game called Dungeons and Dragons. I'd never heard of it before." This is in 1981, and so.
So would this be Mold Bake Cook edition then, or?
I think he had Mold Bake Cook, which is interesting because when I then asked for it for Christmas,
you got Menser probably,
Holmes version.
Or the Holmes. Okay,
I got the Holmes.
You got the older
wasn't
one
out yet.
Okay,
because Menser didn't come out till 83.
Okay,
so this was 81, but they were still spelling because I'm pretty sure my parents ordered it from the Sears Wish Book catalog. And so I got the Holmes book. So I think my original game that I played that day at school in the fifth grade was Moldvay.
Okay.
But we didn't really know the rules. We were playing he was like, "What do you want to play?" And I was looking at him like, "Oh, I want to make a Hobbit." And he said, What do you want to name your Hobbit?" And I said Bilbo Baggins. And he's like, no, you can't name your guy Bilbo Baggins. You have to, you have to name him something different. I said, okay, how about Balbo Baggins? He'll be his cousin. So, okay. And so I made, a halfling thief type character that and then we had so much fun playing at recess that we went to his house after school and played it after school as well. And then I got hooked. And then I only played with him a few times, and then I got the books and started running it myself for the neighborhood kids where I lived.
Sure.
And it was funny because at the time I had the Holmes box set, and then with my paper route money, I bought the Dungeon Master's Guide. So for a while, I was running, D&D, and that was my D&D. It was the Holmes set, and it was the Dungeon Master's Guide until the characters reached like 4th level, and we were like, "What do we do now?" And one of the kids in the neighborhood bought a player's handbook.
Nice.
And then we started using that, but we were like sharing books. I didn't even have a player's handbook. We were, I was the only kid that had dice, so we were like sharing resources at the time, and probably getting all the rules wrong, but there was no internet to tell us we were doing it wrong.
I remember distinctly we went on a vacation and I brought my only tube of dice with me and I left it in the hotel room. And I remember crying on the way home because I was like, the closest hobby store was like 2 hours from my house.
Right.
I had no idea where I was going to get another set of dice from.
Yeah.
It's such a different experience now because like you were saying, you just had you had the Dungeon Master's Guide and the basic set. For those that don't know, the Holmes Basic was a little bit closer to OD&D. It was meant kind of as a bridge to AD&D. Only went to 3rd level. There's a great retro clone called Blue Home that's available on Drive-Thru RPG. But so you're using those, you're mixing and matching. We did the same thing. We use Oriental Adventures with Beckme, and we had like Unearthed Arcana stuff in our Beckme game.
Yeah.
But we didn't know any better. There was no internet to like somebody to tell you you're doing it wrong.
Right. We were just making stuff up. We were buying graph paper and drawing dungeons.
Oh, absolutely.
And playing games, It was just such a great time. Back then too, it was like that. I didn't know of any hobby shops in my area either. So it was basically Walden Books where I would get my D&D stuff.
Preferred reader's card, got 10% off, right?
Right. Yeah, I had the membership. Yep, definitely.
So you said that you started running games as soon as you got your box set. Have you been the forever DM ever since then, or have you had moments of respite?
Yeah. I do get to play here and there, and I like to have a nice break and actually play.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good time. One of the guys in my group right now, he's been running a Symbaroum game, which is by Free League.
The Swedes know how to do it, man.
Yeah, so we have, and so we've had we've had a couple of other DMs in the group that run things here and there, but for the most part, like 90% of the time, I'm the DM.
So are you are you playing in the original Symbaroum or the new Ruins, the 5e version, or the original one that?
Oh, the original one. Good. That was, yeah. I don't know what the new one is. I don't even know anything about it.
It's basically just a setting for 5e.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'd rather not play 5e anyway. I enjoy it. It's not really my preferred game system, so I kind of like the uniqueness of the Symbaroum rules.
Sure. So, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hyperborea is kind of a lot of the house rules and the way you played at your table for the last 30, 40 years, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Once I got down to the actual writing of the rule system itself, there were things that developed during that phase, but a lot of it was plucked from binders of house rules that I had used over the years.
Sure.
Like playing AD&D growing up, none of us really understood how the initiative system worked. So that's something from Holmes that I carried over, just using a D6 group initiative.
Yeah,
and creating some type of internal order within that. So it's kind of funny because when I was reviewing different initiative systems in D&D type games, I came back to Holmes, as I often do, because I see that as sort of my grounding.
Sure.
And I was looking at, in Holmes, initiative is based on dexterity.
Yes.
And then if dexterity is a tide, you roll a d6.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did with Hyperborea was sort of a sort of reverse engineered Holmes, in which I did d6 group initiative, and if the six-siders are tied, that tie is broken up by dexterity.
Yep.
So then it could be all over the place. You could have a couple of monsters going, and or you could have, say, a couple of player characters going monsters and then player characters again due to dexterity, because in the game we have dexterity values for every monster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's intended to facilitate those tiebreakers.
And
right?
I think, if I recall right, you even put a little note in there, like, if you're using other materials and the monster doesn't have a dexterity score, just roll 3d6, and that's their dexterity score for this purpose.
Yeah, and of course, like, if you could also just assign it yourself too. Like, if you like say you have some kind of primate creature that's super quick, and you rolled horribly, and you're like, it doesn't really make sense for this. And then, or maybe you have some sloth-like creature and you rolled a high dex for it. Maybe that doesn't make sense for that. So, of course, I would always, refer to the referee in the situation that they should if they need to make a gut check on something, go ahead.
So, speaking of gut checks, this is a good segue. Behind the screen or in front of the screen? Where are those dice rolling whenever you're running a game?
I roll all the dice in front of the players with very few exceptions.
Yep.
My exceptions are usually if they're checking for traps.
Sure.
I just ask what their for thieves, it's a chance in 12.
Yep.
I ask what their chance in 12 is, and I roll that behind the screen, because the idea is if there's a trap there and they failed the roll, you don't want them to know that they failed.
Character knowledge, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, a lot of cases, most players, they won't metagame that, but I still don't want them to have the temptation or the knowledge in the back of their head. So there's very few rolls. I do it for traps and I do it for secret doors.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else offhand that I don't roll in front of them. I roll everything in front of them, and however things fall is how they fall.
Maybe a chance of contracting lycanthropy. Let's keep that one behind the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I don't know. Your skin's a little itchy. You might be getting a little bit hairy.
Right.
Yeah. So,
but, we do most of the rolls right in front of each other.
Sure.
So I like it that way. I think it makes it intense.